sun had barely risen over the dusty stretch of highway leading into the Federal Protective Services, FPS base, an isolated facility nestled deep in the heart of the American Southwest. The FPS was a place that few outsiders knew about, an operational headquarters tasked with guarding critical infrastructure, federal buildings, and sensitive sites across the country. It wasn't a place where you just wandered in. It was a fortress. But on this morning, a group of bikers, part of a notorious gang called the Iron Rooks, had different plans. The leader, a rough-edged man named Cole Razor MacKinnon, had been pushing his gang to make a name for themselves in this forgotten part of the country. The Iron Rooks weren't just your average biker gang. They dealt in smuggling, black market arms, and organized crime. They'd gotten word that the FPS base had supplies they could exploit, and if they could intimidate a few federal officers, they could send a message to the rest of the country. They arrived at the gates of the base at dawn, their motorcycles roaring like thunder. Razor's crew was full of tough guys used to having their way, but they were about to meet someone who was far more than they bargained for. Sergeant Ethan Ace Carter, a decorated veteran and former Special Forces operative, was stationed at the FPS base. He was known for his quiet demeanor, but everyone who worked with him knew that underneath his calm exterior was a razor-sharp mind and a warrior's instinct. He didn't show off, but his record spoke for itself. He had dealt with terrorists, criminals, and hostile foreign agents. What he didn't expect was a group of thugs looking to stir up trouble at a facility meant to safeguard the country's most sensitive secrets. The bikers rolled up to the gates, their revving engines echoing across the barren landscape. Razor strode up to the security checkpoint, a wicked grin on his face. "We're here for a little chat," he said to the FPS guards, his voice dripping with arrogance. "You've got some supplies we need to borrow." The guards, clearly outnumbered and intimidated by the bikers' intimidating presence, hesitated. They knew better than to pick a fight, but they also knew that letting the Iron Rooks through could lead to a world of trouble. Sergeant Carter was at his post in the observation tower when he saw the bikers approaching. His instinct kicked in. He'd been trained to handle high-stress situations, and this wasn't just an average confrontation. He had learned one hard lesson over the years: never underestimate your enemy, especially when they think they have the upper hand. Carter grabbed his gear, calmly walked to the gates, and stepped into view of Razor and his gang. The bikers immediately sized him up. He didn't look like much. Just another guy in his mid-30s, wearing a black tactical vest with FPS insignia. But there was something about him that made the air crackle with tension. Razor raised an eyebrow. "What's this? A little security guard trying to play hero?" he sneered. "You think you can stop us?" Carter didn't flinch. "I don't need to stop you," he said, his voice steady. "I just need to make sure you don't go anywhere." Razor laughed and gestured to his crew. "This guy's got balls. Too bad he's about to get squashed in the blink of an eye." One of Razor's men lunged forward, pulling a knife. But before the biker could make contact, Carter's movements were already in motion. His training kicked in one swift move, and the biker was disarmed. Face first into the dirt, the other bikers froze. Razor's grin faltered for just a second, but he quickly recovered. "Get him!" he roared. What happened next was something out of a military playbook. Carter wasn't just fighting to defend the base, he was executing a strategy, each move as precise and lethal as the next. With a series of calculated strikes, he disarmed the bikers one by one. It wasn't about brute force, it was about control. Carter had spent years mastering techniques that could neutralize threats quickly and efficiently, without unnecessary violence. The bikers soon realized they were in over their heads. They had underestimated the soldier in front of them, thinking he was just another guard. But Carter wasn't just a guard. He was a protector of the nation, a man who had sacrificed years of his life to safeguard others. And now, He was protecting the FPS base from people who had no idea what they were messing with within moments. The bikers were on the ground, disarmed and restrained. Razor, now kneeling in the dirt, seethed with anger. "You think you've won?" he growled. "This isn't over." Carter stood over him, his posture calm and commanding. "It is for now. You're done here." The sound of sirens echoed in the distance as backup arrived. The FBI and local law enforcement were on their way to take over the scene. But Carter had already neutralized the threat. As the bikers were hauled away in handcuffs, Razor couldn't help but seethe. They had messed with the wrong soldier, someone who understood that protecting what mattered meant never backing down. As Carter watched the bikers being driven away, he couldn't help but feel the weight of his responsibility. In the end, this wasn't just about taking down criminals. It was about protecting his country, his brothers and sisters in arms, and the silent, unwavering commitment to duty that kept America safe. And the next time someone thought about messing with the FPS, they would remember the soldier who stood alone at the gates and won.